Hello there, and welcome to Mark My Words Live. Also, hopefully, going to be used as a Mark My Words solo episode, which I haven't done in a little while. I thank you for tuning in, whether it's live, whether you're listening virtually, or I guess we're all virtual, but if you're listening to the actual podcast from one of the many places you can find Mark My Words, I thank you for tuning in. And it's been a while since I've been live on LinkedIn. Very happy to be live on one of my favorite platforms on social media. And I'm here today because I read an article this morning that really got my attention, and it really lines up with kind of like my mission with this show. One of the many things that I really like to, spread to my audience and impart as far as wisdom. And it's an article from CNBC. Top five regrets people have when they die, and this is according to an ex-hospice care worker, and they got this advice from people that they cared for, and it was all things that they regretted about their own life, and they're telling this hospice worker all of this on their deathbed. And I just found some of the bullet points in this article to be very compelling and really lines up, I guess, with why I'm trying to take so much action in my own life, having a podcast, going live to my connections and followers, and just trying to spread a little bit of good and to just get people thinking about themselves and their life a little bit, because I've had a life where I feel like I have constantly had to dig deep and think about my own journey constantly. And I guess we all should do that in theory. I know we don't always all do that kind of thing, but I've led a particular life where I feel like I've constantly had to prove myself and to just show my own potential. And I think this article really summed up very well just what drives me, I guess. And I'm just going to go down the list here. So, just cutting to the chase on the article, bullet point number one says, and these are just phrases that this hospice care worker had heard over their career the most when people were at the end of their time here on earth. So, bullet point number one, I wish I had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. And whoa, right there is a banger of a point about just being true to yourself. And I guess I don't know if I want to call it an advantage, but I've had an advantage slash disadvantage of not always really fitting in wherever I go. So that has always put me in a position where I'm not really trying to impress a certain group of people. I'm not really trying to fit in. And there's nothing wrong with fitting in, but I do think the outside world has a way of impacting us and influencing some of the decisions that we make. And I think when we stay true to ourselves and not the life others expect, I think we find more of our individuality, and I think we set ourselves on a course that is a little more, I guess, of an independent, individual kind of path than just doing what everybody else expects or thinks you should do. It's easier said than done, and it takes a lot of courage to do that. And fortunately for me, in a lot of cases, I feel like it's in my blood already. So I feel like that's at least something I'm trying to do. And I think this is just great advice. And I would not want to be at the end of my life and realize I did not have the courage, because as somebody who has cleft palate and lip, other issues that go along with it, is taking a lot of courage to live this life and to lead this path that I have been on. So, from somebody who feels that they know a lot about that bullet point, I encourage you to stay true to yourself, because I think not only is it good for you, it allows you, I think, to stand out. But I think in the long run, if you stay true to yourself, you're gonna wind up being happier. You're not gonna have skeletons, you're not gonna have baggage. And I personally just think that's a better way to live. Bullet point number 2, I wish I hadn't worked so hard. Now, this is a tough one because I am driven by the notion of trying to prove myself. So I know for a fact that I push myself pretty hard. I work very hard. And that's a tough one. But I will say I have learned to kind of let go a little bit more as I've gotten older, because I think you come to realize that you need to take care of yourself. You have to come first. And it's great to be the best at work. It's great to create a great life for those that you love and care about. But you have to really love and care about yourself. And I know a lot of people say things like that, and it's, you, depending on your mood, you may or may not believe that. But it's, to me, you really have to take care of yourself first and foremost. Bullet point number 3, I wish I had the courage to express my feelings. Here I am, right here, expressing my feelings. And I'll tell you, I've met people who have shied away from expressing themselves the way I felt they should. I mean, it's hard to be open sometimes, and it's hard to really say exactly what you're thinking. And it's hard to have certain conversations sometimes. And, let's be honest, it's very difficult. There are very difficult topics, conflicts that come up in life, but I'm glad that I at least try to be self aware and try to at least have the courage to express myself. That's what Mark My Words. That's a big part of what this podcast and me being live right now rather than sitting on the couch. That's exactly what this is all about. And let's see, bullet point number 4. I wish I had stayed in touch with my friends. Let me tell you, as somebody who has lost touch with people over the years, but then regained touch, especially a very, very close friend of mine, he's like a brother to me. The best thing, at least one of the best things I ever did for myself, one of the best actions I took was getting back in touch with my best friend from high school. We have been in touch, so to speak, for about 10, 11, 12 years now. And it's the best thing I could have done for my life, and just really to just have a support system, to have friends at all. I mean, you're talking about somebody who is very much to themselves. I may seem very like outgoing in the podcast and when I'm doing content like this, but I'm actually like quite to myself and really guarded about, just maintaining my own life and staying focused on that. But very good to have a support system, and I certainly have tried to give it my all to anybody I truly called a friend, and I would really hate to think if I got another 20, 30 years into my life and was like, why didn't I try harder for to just be in touch and be there for people that I care about? And I'm one of those people, I guess I wear my heart on my sleeve. And, I, if you're in my world and I really care about you, then you have a big part of me. And I mean, to me, that's a very big fact. And it's a tough world. I mean, we all have our baggage, we have our falling outs, and all those other things. And it's tough. But I mean, it takes two when you're talking about a topic like that. But at least make the effort, I would say. And I think that's great advice as well, because it's easy to let life just pass by. Because as I always say, life goes slow, but it also goes by fast. So don't waste too much time not staying in touch with those who can support you. And then finally, the last point is I wish I had let myself be happier. And boy, is that ever a brilliant point. And I don't think that we sit around and spend enough time thinking about these things. I mean, to me, happiness is everything. I've had many ups and downs. I've had many things happen in my own world that have and should have probably knocked me out for the count. And I have probably have no right to be as driven as I am in life, but I am, because whether it's something in my soul or in my gut, if it's, well, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it was something I was taught. I wish I knew what exactly it was. I don't know if it was just how I was born, the circumstances. I could ramble on all day. I just know that I'm very driven to have the happiest life that I can, the best life that I can, and to just make the most of what I have, use the tools that I've been given, and to make the best of my life. And I think that these are really great points. And I think I'm sure there are more things that could be said on your deathbed that could be advice for those of us in the middle of our life, or, we're in the thick of it, however you really want to put it. And I think that there's a lot of wisdom in this article. And again, it's a long title. Top 5 regrets people have when they die, says ex hospice care worker. Many don't realize them until the end. And I at least am glad that have for the past several years have been taking it upon myself to take a little bit of action to try to at least pursue things that have always been in my gut and my heart, and to at least be able to say at the end of the day, at the end of life, that I went for it and I did it. And that to me is everything. I mean, even if this, was it for me, if I knew my life was going to be over, I could at least say I went for it. I went for it in my career. I went for it just personally, making content, went for it with the podcast. Like, I feel like I really, truly have gone for it. And I think that is really what it's all about. And this in general is just a wonderful article and wonderful reminder, and sometimes these things just pop up in your world when you least expect it. I was just going through the motions of my day, and all of a sudden, this article just popped up right in front of me. And before I end all of this episode, this live event, this little LinkedIn, Instagram crossover, there was one thing that was said in this article, and I'm seeing a bunch of things like overall pouring time and attention into your friends and family, putting your interests first, staying true to yourself, all play a role in your overall happiness and life satisfaction. There was one like little soundbite or phrase that I was actually going to call this episode here. I guess it's not wise for me to waste your time looking around for it, but if I can find it, I will certainly post about it because your happiness is everything. And you may be going through the motions now and you may not be thinking about it. You may think, well, this is what I have to put up with. This is just my life. No, you do have the power to do more. And that many did not realize until the end that happiness is a choice. That is the sentence I was looking for. That happiness is a choice. It is a choice. And you may not feel like it is a choice sometimes, and believe me, I've been there. I know how you feel, and I know sometimes I feel like, man, I don't have a choice in this situation or that situation, but I think there is always or almost always a way to find a little bit of happiness in life. And I think we don't spend enough time really being cognizant of that. We get too involved and too focused on what needs to happen, what needs to be accomplished, how much money do we need to make. They're all important things, but we also have to be happy because if we're not happy, then what is even the point? So I just again I thought this was an awesome article, awesome reminder, hoping to spread that and share that on this episode, this solo episode of Mark My Words, which is also Mark My Words Live. And if you're watching this on LinkedIn, I have been very busy. I know I haven't posted much on LinkedIn. I have celebrated my 100th episode this year. I have done many episodes. I don't know how many episodes I've done this year, but I've done a lot, and I have done a lot just as far as you know, here of late, really trying to get a lot of episodes in before the end of the year, going to 2025 strong. And I've really tried to have people on my show who are going to impart the kind of wisdom that I really want people to walk away with and be inspired because I just did an episode today and I was just so inspired by my guest who was just incredible. Rhonda Parker Taylor, who is an author, she has her own business, and she said some of the most wonderful, incredible things in our episode today. And this is why I do it. This is why I do the podcast. I mean, it inspires me, and I hope it inspires you too. And I'm just looking to get people to see that, hey, if this guy, the guy being me, can put themselves out there and do all this stuff, speak, have podcasts, make content, create episodes with all these awesome people who are changing people's lives, including mine every day. If I can inspire a few people by doing that, then I've done my job and I love it. It energizes me. It reminds me of, why I'm doing all this. It reminds me of many things that I think we all need to keep in mind a little bit more as we go through life. And please take some time, even if you gotta skip through the episodes, there is something there for everybody, I think. And, you can find my show pretty much anywhere where you can find podcasts. Mark My Words, spelled M-A-R-C if you're listening, which I guess if you're listening, you found it. So thank you for finding it. And I think that's it. I think that's all I really wanted to share today. Thanks for tuning in live. Thanks for listening. And I'll be back very soon with another episode of Mark My Words solo episode. Hopefully, I'll continue going with those. I'll hopefully be going live more down the road. Been trying on Instagram. Don't always make it to LinkedIn, but hoping to maybe bring some of my guests on here and just keep the content going and hopefully continue inspiring and getting everybody to think about how they can improve their lives and make a difference in their life as well as others. So, at the risk of rambling on too much, I am Mark Schmidt. Thank you so much for listening to this solo episode of Mark My Words. Thank you for tuning in live, and I will see you soon. Bye.